let's see what that one was. That felt halfway decent. So my overall time was a 2:12. My first shot was a 7.9. Second shot was a 2:12 with a split of 1.33. Hey guys, Victor33 here on the range today. So over the last couple videos I posted, I received a few questions about seated drills. So unfortunately today I didn't bring my concealed carry setup out here. I'm wearing what I normally wear around the farm. I was out here actually running my wife through some drills, so I was not really getting any trigger time, but I decided I'd do a quick video to answer those questions that were brought up in the last video that I posted. So some of the questions, they wanted to see variations of the seated draw. So it's really easy to be seated and draw and engage something, directly to the front of you. But what's not so easy is to draw and engage to your strong side or to your support side from a seated position, and definitely not rearward. So some things to think about with this situation is always going to depend on what type of direction tactic that you take. You know, if you're in a church and you're surrounded by people, you might actually want to stand up and try and attract the gunman's attention away from the innocent people around you as you're engaging him. You want his focus on you. Whereas if you just start engaging from a seated position and you have a bunch of other people seated around you, you run the risk of the guy, you know, panicking and just blindly firing into you, which, you know, he's already doing anyways. It's an active shooter. But if you're taking the step to actually engage a bad guy in a crowded situation, you might actually want to stand up to get a better vantage point and to maintain your mobility. If given the option, most of the times that I can think of, I would prefer to engage from a standing position. Seated position is a very initial, it's like being in a vehicle. You draw, you engage and suppress, hopefully in the threat, but the idea is to buy yourself enough time to stand up and gain mobility. Mobility is what allows you to survive a gunfight a lot of times versus not surviving a gunfight. So staying mobile and scoring hits, obviously, and not necessarily in that order even. That said, it's always good to practice worst case scenarios, which is why you saw me doing some seated draws and some stuff like that. So today I'm going to cover how to draw strong side, support side, and with the threat to my rear. The first thing you always want to do is identify your threat before you begin to take action. So that means turn and look, right? And make sure that what you're about to react to is actually a bad guy and not a waitress dropping a stack of dishes or somebody backing into the rear of the restaurant with a delivery truck on accident, you know? There's a lot of noises out there that if you're only partially paying attention to them can sound a lot like gunfire, and there's a lot of things that gunfire can potentially sound like. So you always want to identify your threat before you take action. And that should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. To 106. So this is going to be the seated support side threat. Alright guys, so this right here is going to be the seated rearward threat. Now with this, it's generally going to be easier to stand up, and ideally you want to put yourself in a tactical position where you're not having to do this. And there's two ways you can do it. I recommend you practice them both, and actually there's way more than two ways, I'm sure, but there's two directions you can turn. You can turn to your support side or you can turn to your dominant side. I typically find turning to my support side gives me more flexibility to get a good presentation of the handgun to shoot. Situation's going to dictate. You know, you might not have somebody on your strong side, and you might have somebody sitting on your support side, and you're going to need to turn that way so you can start moving away as you're engaging. That said, this drill is only a very small window in time of a much larger picture. So this is just some, you know, very minutiae that you can think about. So I'm going to demonstrate both. And I'm going to set my timer on the ground because I'm probably going to break it trying to turn to my support side. seated, turning my strong side. Now, one of the things to keep in mind when you turn to your strong side, you're going to want to get your firearm out before starting your turn, because you stand a good chance of pinching it into whatever seat you're seated in. So those are all things you're going to have to keep in mind. And if you notice my elbow, I can't get a good presentation. This is not ideal, and this would not be the way that I would choose to go. In this position, I typically would try to probably stand up and turn and engage the threat, because this is not ideal, at least for me. So I'll give it a shot, see what you think. Now, obviously at the end of all these seated drills, you're going to end up standing and moving, okay? I'm not demonstrating that. I'm trying to encompass a very small facet of a much larger picture. And I just want to be clear with that. So next we're going to go into kind of a combination of movements, drawing and standing and engaging the threat. I'm only going to do that from support side and dominant side. I'm not going to bother doing it rearward facing. It's pretty obvious what you can do. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I had a blast making it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any questions over what you've seen in these videos, be sure to go ahead and leave them down below or over on my Facebook page, or look me up on Instagram at Victor_3_3_ on Instagram. If you have any questions or you have any drills that you'd like to see, feel free to hit me up and let me know. I try and reply to all the comments to these videos, and I really appreciate the interaction that I've been getting. It's already been rewarding for me, and I hope I'm able to give back a little bit more to the shooting community. Thank you.